Welcome to another episode of The Mind's Eye with Mike Lowry. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate your support. I wanted to conclude this series of Unveiling Truth with Perception versus Reality. Stay tuned. So as I've stated, this is the last and final episode of the series called Unveiling Truth. Today I just want to break down some ideology behind perception versus reality. So in this series, we also talked about logical versus emotional and also reason versus excuses. So with that being said, I wanted to also break down unveiling truth in this series as well. What unveiling truth is to me is just really having patience and being bold. The willingness to understand like someone's point of view and understand that, maybe their experience may be different, but maybe they have something to say that's worth listening to. I think oftentimes we get caught up in thinking that because we come from different backgrounds or we look different, what someone else has to say can't be anything along the lines of what I need, because their experience is different. I always tell people all the time, just because your situation is different from mine, that doesn't mean that there were two separate situations that didn't make us feel the same way. I was hurt. I was, down and out. I didn't know what to do. And whatever my situation was caused that feeling. Whatever your situation was caused that feeling. And a lot of times we think that because our situations are so different, we can't really help each other in the proper spaces because we don't see it the same way, but we felt the same way. So in that space, what did you do to get out of that space of comfort? And a lot of times people aren't open-minded enough to receive that information because it looks different. It's not the same. And we're missing out on blessings and situations because we're thinking like they don't know my struggle. Well, we may not necessarily know theirs either, but we know that they struggled in something and they didn't know how to get out of it, but then they did. So we're closed-minded to so many opportunities of taking the next step towards things because it don't look like what we expect it to be. So, all right, let's get to it. Y'all know I like to break down the definition. All right, so the definition of perception is the ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through the senses, the state of being or process of becoming aware of something through the senses. All right, so let's break down the definition of reality. The world or the state of things as they actually exist, right? As opposed to idealistic or national idea of or theme. All right, so I want to give you 3 examples of how we break down perception and reality to try to get a better understanding of what it is and how we can utilize it properly on our daily lives. All right, for one example, social media. They send these clips. It's like 10, 15, 20-second clips, right? So in those clips, you'll get DMs sent to you, you'll get text messages sent to you about a reality that don't necessarily exist based on what someone said in a 5-second clip. They said X, Y, and Z, and then you run with it. And then there's no context. There's nothing behind that point of view because we don't know what the conversation is really about. We don't know what was asked before or after that to clarify exactly what that person meant in that space. But so many times we find ourselves doing that, and I'm not sure why. Like it creates this narrative where we want to be so right, we'll take anything that may not even be close to reality and say, well, my perception is this is that in the 5-second clip and make it, oh, this is what he was talking about for sure. I know that to be right. And you have no idea. Number 2, like when it comes to success, like a lot of times people just see somebody like and they're successful. They don't know anything behind closed doors in terms of what they may be dealing with or what traumas they may have or things that could be going, on in their lives. But the reality of it is those failures and setbacks and challenges prior to being successful were the things that really got them to a place of success. But when we get in success, we think that, okay, it's always going to be peaches and cream. It's always going to be successful for here. But in order for us to get to the next level and grow, then there are going to be more setbacks. There are going to be more, issues and challenges. And that is reality. That is the idea that this is what it is. All right, number 3. This is the one that gets me the most. You ever seen 2 people in an agreement, but they're arguing? And they're arguing because they see them being right differently. And I find that to be funny because some people are very, controlling in how we should see their right. In reality, we could be moving on to something else and still arguing about the fact that we're both right. But we're so close-minded in most spaces where we don't even see it. We don't even realize it. Sometimes it takes the person on the outside and be like, y'all arguing the same point. And in reality, we aren't always right. And sometimes we just got to learn how to take it on the chin and not continuing to argue points that don't make sense just for the simple fact of being right. It just becomes convoluted and pointless. So I just want to encourage everybody to be open-minded. Regardless of what someone looks like, use your discernment, regardless of their background, regardless of whatever situation they had prior to meeting you, just be open-minded and willing to receive, because you don't got all the answers. Well, none of us have all the answers. And if we want to say that God works in mysterious ways, then don't limit his mysteriousness. I'm going to say that again. If you believe that God works in mysterious ways, then don't limit his mysteriousness, because he can be very well putting that person that don't look like you in your space and opportunity to help you and encourage you and motivate you to get to the next level. But you're so caught up in the idea that your perception might be different, your experience might be different, you may not look the same or what have you. And God is like, I didn't tell you how it was going to look. I'm just putting people in place necessary for you to get what you desire, the things that you said that you wanted to do, and also according to his will. But I ain't want to preach up in here tonight or today or whenever. But with that being said, I'll see y'all next time. Well, that concludes another episode of The Mind's Eye with Mike Lowry. Guys, thank you again for tuning in. We got more to come. Don't forget the merch. Link will be in the bio. I appreciate y'all. See you next time.